The time, 02:17 hours. Russian soldiers, flush with victory, began their withdrawal. They were oblivious. A Ukrainian hunter-killer team was closing in, a shadow in the dark just miles astern. In 15 minutes, that victory would turn to ash, a stunning piece of military news about to unfold. The stage for this war was set hours earlier, with a massive Russo-North Korean drone attack. The strike hit a civilian evacuation point near Sumy. It also vaporized a Ukrainian drone depot, a $1.2 million blow. Now, the attacking units were pulling back. They were overconfident, exposed, marching directly into a digital kill zone. The Ukrainian military command acted instantly, unleashing a hunter-killer team to stalk the retreating enemy. The unit was mobile, operating from 2 unmarked trucks that had ghosted across the border. Their primary weapons, a $300,000 swarm of 50 Wild Hornet FPV drones. Control came from a pop-up, unjammable network, a piece of advanced defense technology established by 5 special command drones. The plan was a textbook case of digital misdirection. Phase 1. 10 decoy drones would scream in. Their target, the enemy's $100 million electronic defense systems. The goal, force the shield to reveal its location and burn power-engaging phantoms. With the shield compromised, the true swarm would attack. This was asymmetric warfare, turning Russia's greatest strength into a fatal vulnerability. The time, 02:25. 2 Kraz trucks. Their sides bore the faded logo of a civilian logging company, perfect cover. They stopped on a muddy forest trail, 18 miles deep behind the lines of the opposing army. In under 90 seconds, the entire 65 drone package was launched. Decoys, attackers, command nodes, all airborne. But instead of ascending, the swarm of drones dove. They dropped low, hugging the snow-dusted earth at just 50 feet. On a pre-planned route, they used the terrain itself as a shield against detection, a key tactic in modern warfare. They skimmed over frozen streams, weaving through the skeletal branches of the winter forest. At this altitude, they were below the radar horizon. Invisible. The long-range defense systems were designed to track jets, not ground-hugging drones. It was a simple law of physics that Russia's billion-dollar systems could not defy. Their powerful radars can track missiles in orbit, but they are blind to targets behind a frozen hill. A critical piece of war analysis. The time, 02:31. The 10 Gerbera decoy drones split from the swarm. They rocketed to 1,000 feet, intentionally lighting up enemy radar. Then, they began broadcasting a spoofed electronic signature. The signature was a perfect mimicry of an Iranian-made Shahed 136 flight, a high-value threat guaranteed to trigger an overreaction from any opposing Air Force defense crew. The trap was sprung. The $100 million Krasuka 4 defense system roared to life. A titanic blast of electromagnetic energy flooded the sector. First, broadband jamming. A wall of electronic static designed to deafen anything airborne. But the targets remained. The Russian troops operating the system panicked. They switched to spot jamming, pouring the system's full power onto 10 small blips on their screens. A tactical error. It was the equivalent of using a bunker buster on a single soldier, a mistake even rookie Marines are trained to avoid. In 90 seconds, the system burned enough energy to power 50 U.S. homes for a day, all to neutralize 10 $100 drones. Their suicide mission complete, the decoys short-circuited, tumbling from the sky. But their true purpose was achieved. The Krasuka 4 system had just made 2 fatal errors, a common occurrence in this global conflict. First, it broadcast its precise location to every Ukrainian sensor in range. Second, it began a critical 45-second recalibration cycle, a required cooldown after that massive energy discharge. For the real swarm, now just 8 miles out, this wasn't just an opportunity. It was an engraved invitation. The time, 0200 hours. With the Krasuka blind, it was time to deploy the mission's true weapon, 5 command drones. A new piece of defense technology codenamed Baba Yaga. Their mission, not to attack, but to command. Ascending to 1,200 feet, the 5 Baba Yagas took position. They became the neural network for the swarm. Together, they wove an invisible, unjammable communications web over the battlespace, a new paradigm in drone warfare. It was a private, military-grade 5G network established in seconds. The operators now had a flawless, high-definition link to the 50 Wild Hornet FPVs, a level of control even the Navy dreams of. Drones now closing on the true target, the NEBO-U acquisition radar. The lead Hornet carried one of the newest modern weapons, a warhead designed for a specialized kill. It would deliver a powerful electromagnetic pulse, a point-blank burst of invisible energy. The target wasn't the steel dish, it was the electronic nervous system, the delicate circuitry buried deep within the machine's core. Inside the Russian command post, the NEBO-U display didn't shatter. It went dark. A silent, fatal military update. And here's why that single event was a death sentence. The NEBO-U is an acquisition radar. Its sole purpose: scan the sky, identify threats, and feed targeting data to the defense systems, the missile launchers, and anti-aircraft guns. Without the NEBO-U, those weapons are blind. It is the scout that finds the enemy for the soldiers operating the launchers. By taking out the scout, Ukraine had blinded the entire grid. Every gun was useless, and the swarm was still coming. 2 a.m., blind and desperate, the Russian commander made the only call he could: activate the final layer of defense. This was no longer about complex military systems. It was a desperate, brute force response. From camouflage snow bunkers, 30 interceptor drones clawed into the sky. These were not surveillance drones. Each was a purpose-built killer, a key asset in modern warfare, a 50-pound flying bulldog designed for one mission: drone-on-drone combat. Armed with net launchers and airburst munitions, they surged forward to meet the incoming swarm. The war for the sky had begun. The night, once silent, erupted into a chaotic three-dimensional knife fight. The Ukrainian Hornets, a nightmare for any air force, were built for speed and precision strikes. Now, they were locked in a deadly game of chicken with drones engineered to hunt them. Inside the command trucks, video feeds became a dizzying blur, a raw military update from the front. Evasive maneuvers, near misses. Then, the sickening static of a lost signal. A screen went black. Another Hornet was gone. Then another. As the aerial dogfight raged, the compound's point defense systems roared to life. They didn't need the NEBO-U. 2 Panzer-Sohn turrets, the last line of Army defense, began slewing towards the chaos. Their independent thermal and optical sensors locked onto the remaining Hornets. First, the missiles, streaks of light cutting through the dark, each one a guaranteed kill from these modern weapons. 3 more Hornets vanished in silent flashes. Then, the cannons. The air ripped apart as the Panzers erupted, spewing a volcano of 30mm tungsten. The rate of fire: 5,000 rounds per minute. A hurricane of razor blades. A new level of modern warfare. The Ukrainian troops could only watch in horror. The enemy's advanced defense technology had seized control of the battle. The swarm was being decimated, caught between interceptor drones. And a wall of fire from the panzers below. The path to the primary military targets was a storm of steel. The window of opportunity wasn't closing. It was being slammed shut. 2:35 a.m. From the Ukrainian perspective, a catastrophic failure. A grim subject for war analysis. But this chaos, this desperate, multi-layered defense, was exactly what they had planned for. This was not a setback. It was the trigger. The Baba Yaga drones were the digital immune system. For the last 60 seconds, they weren't just relaying signals. They were listening, analyzing, deciphering enemy command frequencies. And they found it. On the operator's screens, a new icon flashed the most critical military news of the night. A single command truck parked 500 yards from the compound. The mobile control station for the entire interceptor drone fleet. The brainstem of the enemy's defense. The order was given. The Baba Yagas unleashed their secondary weapons, a focused burst of electronic warfare. It targeted the drone's command frequency, not a jam. A hostile takeover, flooding the network with false commands and ghost targets. The effect on the battlefield was immediate, spectacular. The enemy drones, command links severed, logic corrupted, began turning on themselves. A self-destructive frenzy of fire and shrapnel. Simultaneously, the Ukrainian swarm split. 10 Hornets, a dedicated suicide squad of robotic troops, broke formation and climbed. They presented themselves as bait. As predicted, the Panzer turrets swiveled and roared, vaporizing all 10 drones in a storm of tungsten. But for 3 critical seconds, the turrets were locked, facing skyward, barrels glowing red-hot. In modern warfare, 3 seconds is an eternity. That was the opening. Flying low and fast, the main attack force slipped under the cannon's firing arc, ignoring the wreckage of this brutal global conflict. They pushed past the dying echoes of the missile defense systems. Their targets were now exposed. The final Hornets slammed home. 2 rounds struck the first Panzer. 2 more hit the second. The wall of fire was gone. The surviving drones, a handful of battle-scarred hunters, pushed on, directly toward their primary targets, the S-400 missile launchers and the main command bunker. As the final Ukrainian drone began its terminal dive, it transmitted its own fiery demise. The exfiltration protocol was already active. Miles away, the engines of 2 crash trucks roared to life. Operators wiped their systems, packed their consoles, and began a pre-planned escape through the forest, leaving no trace. The chess match of modern warfare was over. All that was left was to knock over the king. 2 a.m. The final Ukrainian drones met their targets not with a simple blast, but with a cold, brutal application of physics. The Hornets targeting the S-400 launchers were armed with PG-7 VL-shaped charges. These modern weapons were not designed to just detonate. They focus an entire explosive force into a single molten jet of copper, traveling over 25,000 feet per second. This needle of superheated metal tore through the launcher's missile tube, as if it were paper. In the next microsecond, it slammed into the solid rocket propellant of the 48 N6 missile inside. The result was not an explosion, it was a volcanic eruption. In this brutal form of war, solid rocket propellant ignited under pressure, burns at over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The missile tube, designed to channel that force downward, now became a cannon aimed at itself. The pressure spike ruptured the adjacent tubes, and a catastrophic chain reaction ignited the remaining 3 missiles on the launcher. In less than 2 seconds, a $100 million piece of advanced military hardware, along with 4 multi-million-dollar missiles, became the world's most expensive pyre, sending a column of white-hot fire thousands of feet into the night sky. At the same moment, the drones assigned to the command bunker executed a different kind of kill. The bunker was hardened, nearly immune to the small warhead of these drones. So the Hornets didn't target the concrete. They targeted the bunker's lifeline, the heavily armored conduits. They carried power and fiber optic communication lines from the surface. The explosions were surgical, severing the bunker from the outside world. The brain of the entire air defense network had just been severed from its body. 2 a.m. The effect of the decapitation strike was instantaneous. For the Russian soldiers on the perimeter, the world ended. The sky was lit by the volcanic fire of their own burning missile launchers. Their encrypted comms, once a constant stream of orders from the command bunker, were dead silent. They had no orders, no information, no leadership. Panic took hold. The troops scrambled from their positions, some running toward the chaos, others running from it. The disciplined air defense battery, a symbol of the Russian army's technological might, dissolved into a terrified, disorganized mob in less than 3 minutes. The chain of command wasn't just broken, it was vaporized. They were now nothing more than isolated soldiers standing in the dark, watching their most powerful weapons burn. This military update on the Kursk battery's destruction hit the global stage like a shockwave. NATO intelligence reports hailed it as a textbook case of asymmetric warfare. The United States, seeing the stunning effectiveness of Ukraine's homegrown defense systems, fast-tracked a new $500 million aid package, specifically for drone technology. The Russo-North Korean alliance, once a source of strength, became a source of blame. Moscow was furious that its expensive hardware was lost. Pyongyang, was humiliated that its elite drone operators had been so thoroughly outmaneuvered. The cracks in the unbreakable partnership began to show. But the most brutal story was told by the numbers. The final war analysis for Operation Ghost Swarm was stark. Ukraine's investment, roughly $200,000. For the entire drone package and support mission, Russia's losses. At least 2 S-400 launchers with their missiles, 2 Pantsir S-1 units, 1 Nebo-U radar, and the command and control bunker. The total was an estimated $300 million in destroyed hardware. And that doesn't account for the strategic cost of losing the primary air defense hub for the entire sector. The return on investment for Ukraine was a staggering 800 to 1. Not even the best hedge fund on Wall Street could deliver returns like that. It was a strategic checkmate delivered for the price of a suburban home. This event proved a new, undeniable reality of modern conflict. And that was only the beginning. The calculus of modern warfare has shifted. Inventory is now secondary to intellect. Victory is no longer forged by the most expensive weapons, but by the most audacious military minds. If you understand that ingenuity is the ultimate force multiplier in a global conflict, engage with this briefing. Share this war analysis to illuminate the changing face of the battlefield. Subscribe for your weekly military update. We dissect the defense technology and tactics that redefine the front lines. Now, a tactical problem for your consideration. You are the commander. These drones are your troops. Your objective is total concealment. Do you hide your modern weapons in a refrigerated food truck or a fleet of ambulances? Transmit your most effective strategy in the comments below. The future of defense systems is forged in moments like this.